Well, let's decode this a little more with Rob Kniaz, who's founding partner of H3 Capital, a London-based technology venture capital firm. Great to have you on the programme. Look, this is all being presented as a technical adjustment, but it seems that the EU's flipped the script on AI. What's your take?
I think that they're wound up. I think a lot of this is very face-saving, that frankly they're in a position where they don't have much negotiating power. They don't have the investment, they don't have the innovation, they don't have the technology. They're behind the curve in pretty much every way. So you can make a lot of noise and you control a good amount of population by number, but you don't really hold any of the bargaining chips. You're behind the 8 ball with America and China and other larger economies. So it's a bit of putting lipstick on the pig, I guess.
But I thought the EU wanted to be this global leader on AI regulations. So what has changed? Is it that tech has just been moving too fast?
Yeah, I mean, everyone would love to be that. It's great to say you'd love to be the leader, but technology moves fast and you have to have the investment. If you really want to be a global leader, you have to fund it. And if it's not going to come from domestic capital markets, it has to come from government investment, which is even harder. So you look at the ambitions, sure, they're very high to create another Google, to create another OpenAI, but there's no real infrastructure to do that. It's years of underinvestment and under focus on it. And then even when there is innovation, they tend to shoot themselves in the foot with overregulation.
You talked about putting lipstick on a pig, making it sound like it's all talk and no action. Do you worry that this pause in terms of the AI Act, that took so long to negotiate in the first place, does it undermine regulation and the rule of law beyond AI?
It's probably better the more delay there is, frankly. I mean, the less they can get in the way of themselves, the better it probably is to at least allow local champions to develop, national champions. We're still undercapitalized overall, but I think the less friction locally, the better. And with all these regulations, I can't see how they do anything but create a deterrent to doing things in Europe.
So what you're saying is this is about balancing regulation with innovation, and you feel that that innovation is being stifled too much if we try and answer too many ethical questions?
Yeah, unfortunately, in a global world that's connected by the internet, you can't really pick and choose. If you want to be highly regulated, then you're going to have fewer people coming to you and fewer people using your products. If you want to be more expansive and invest more, sure, you may have a global world-leading product, but you can't have it both ways. I think Europe's always struggled on one hand with wanting to regulate and do things their way, but without having the seat at the table to actually have the control to do so.
So what you're saying is that there's a big investment gap when it comes to this space and Europe. But, another way that the EU might be seen to be bending to pressure from tech companies, from other nations, is this Nexperia dispute that's threatened to halt car production at sites around the world. Who's really come out on top there?
I suppose China's come out the best. I mean, I think the Dutch were in a difficult position, again, because on one hand, they were nationalizing a foreign asset, which they found to be troublesome, that was surely backed by America or surely heavily leaned on by the Americans for global security reasons. Then on the other hand, you have German car manufacturers that need essential semiconductors from China, and you're at this deadlock where unfortunately the Dutch were the biggest losers, I'll say, if nothing else, that they get squeezed in the middle by these national and international entities that each wants a different side.
So they've reached out to this Cold War era law, and it's created a lot of controversy, it's created this dispute. But what tools do EU countries have at their fingertips to strengthen their position when it comes to competition with China, with the United States?
Well, this is the problem. It's same with, oil and gas in Europe as well, that the horses kind of left the barn, that these were all decisions made years ago. Interests were sold, control was sold to foreign parties, be it from other governments or wherever. And now you're trying to undo the mess that was created, 10, 20 years ago. So, you can look at things like ownership and restrictions around control. It just gets really, really messy now when you're years into a different ownership or years into trying to change ownership and or nationalize something. It becomes very difficult. There really isn't a whole lot they can do. They can start from first principles and try to go back and find, areas the law's been broken, which was the case in Nexperia. They found that, the CEO is acting illegally. But those are hard to prove, more so than stopping it in the first place.
Rob Kniaz, great talking to you. Thank you very much.